Hey guys, OSG here, and this time we have a Patreon request from Luke Rainford, and what the requested is Prince of Persia comparison in order of greatness. This game was a game changer back in the day with super real character movement and sheer massiveness of the overall game. The original game was made for the Apple II computer by Jordan Mechner. He used rotoscoping for its fluid and realistic animation. Rotoscoping is where real life footage is captured and the sprites are drawn over, giving a real sense of movement. For this process, Mechner used reference for the character's movements from videos of his brother doing acrobatic stunts in white clothes and swashbuckling films such as The Adventures of Robin Hood. Anyway, let's get on with it, and this was a hard one to order as there are no real bad games here. In 22nd place we have the Game Boy version. The movement etc isn't really that bad, but the lack of colour just makes it a bit boring for me. However, I do like the shake of the head movement when you bang into walls. Sam Cooper's in 21st, and here we have not so bad looking game, totally let down by the sound effects. Is this down to emulation? I thought so, but apparently not. It's the way it was, and the prince sounds like a baby elephant moving throughout the levels. In 20th position we have the Amstrad, and I know I'm probably going to get some grief for this position, having recently bought an Amstrad and being a member of a pretty big Amstrad community, but it's just nowhere near as good as I think they could have made it. The character movement isn't really fluid as you would expect, and the sound effects are just pitiful. In 19th place we have a Game Boy Color, which is everything that the Game Boy version was, but with colour, and it really adds to the game, but nothing really new other than that. Still quite a good handheld version. In 18th position is the Spectrum, and I don't normally include remakes or unofficial versions, but this is the new OSG and everything is included now. This is a Russian remake made in 1996. While being really good for gameplay and character movement, it's let down by little to no sound effects. If this had them, it would have been one of the best Spectrum games I have ever played. In 17th we have another late version. I always thought this was out for the C64, but apparently not, and this version was released in 2011. It's a great example of what the C64 could do, but I think it suffers from the washed out colours. Gameplay is great though. In 16th place is the Amiga version, and to me this is just a real letdown, as I know what the Amiga is capable of. While it's not the worst version to look at, it just seems lacking in every way from what we expect from the Amiga. Sound isn't great either. Fifteenth place goes to the Atari ST. This version has better main character design, and the sound is also a lot better than the Amiga. Fourteenth place goes to the DOS version. Although it is very similar to the Amiga version, in fact almost identical, the sound effects are much better, and I thought that added to the overall experience of the game. In 13th place is the Nintendo Entertainment System version, much more colourful than the rest so far and very playable. Also, the first one was sound effects and music, which kept me playing for longer. In 12th place goes to the Apple II, and you're probably thinking I have gone mad, as to look and listen to, it's not the best game, but it's the original, the dad where all the others were spawned from. Yeah, it's not the best looking or sounding, but it more than makes up for that with the gameplay. In fact, if this went on gameplay alone, this would have been top. It's just so good. In 11th place is the Game Gear, and from here on in there are some great examples of what these systems are capable of. The Game Gear version is exceptional for a handheld of its time with great gameplay and sound. Okay, top 10, and in 10 is the Master System, and as you would expect, it's every bit as good as the Game Gear version, but on a larger screen. Ninth place goes to the FM Towns, and this is where it really hots up, with different character costume and more detailed levels, etc. The sounds are good and the gameplay is super fast and fluid. In 8th place we have the Turbo Graphics version. Again, new character and great gameplay, but this time we have maybe the best music out of all the versions, which gives the game a great boost. In 7th place goes to the Sharp X68K. It's ever so slightly better than the Turbo Graphics in gameplay and looks, and although the music isn't as good, I still enjoyed it a little bit more. In 6th place is the PC 9800 version, and it's really getting hard to split these up from now, so I've gone on gameplay alone, and this one kept me playing for the longest so far. Great looking, great sounding and equally great gameplay puts the Sega CD 5th on this list. However, I did expect it to be better than the Megadrive, but it didn't come close. Fourth place goes to the Wii, and this is another thing I've never included in these comparisons. This is a hidden game within the Wii game, Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands. It's a remake of the Mac version, which is brilliant. I've put it fourth as it doesn't really add anything to the Mac version though. In third place we have the SNES version, and what a version it is. Great looking and the gameplay is remarkably good, everything you would expect from a SNES platform game. Okay, top two, and in second place we have a Megadrive version. This version was probably most people's bet for the top position. It's near perfect in every way and is a game I will be revisiting on my channel. and the top place goes to the Mac version, and for once this was a system I had never played or included in any of my comparisons. The emulator was a bit of a pain and took me close to 2 days to get it running to get the footage, but it was time well spent, as this is by far the best version. Just look at it, it's so beautiful, it's like playing a cartoon. This was an exceptional game for its time. Okay, that's it for Prince of Persia. It took a little bit more time than my normal videos to make, but I've enjoyed every minute. Till next time, this is OSG, signing off.